Joining me now is Arkansas Congressman Rick Crawford. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Mr. Chairman, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's really interesting how the U.S. and Israel have divided their issues and divided their roles in this war, with Israel taking out the leadership of Iran and the U.S. taking out these sites. What can you tell us about the strategy?
Well, I think it points to the relationship and the coordination with Israel on this. It's obviously you can do multiple things at different times, and essentially allowing what they're good at, where they're positioned geographically, to use that as an advantage and to strike targets that are important to this whole effort, while the United States focuses on other targets, and really with the coordination of our commanders. And I think it's actually a pretty good testament to the level of cooperation and the relationship that we have with Israel.
And of course, the intelligence has been critical here, from the CIA and intelligence that has identified specific sites and people. In terms of the intelligence, what's most crucial?
You know, we've had all kinds of intelligence on the state of the leadership in Iran. We've had intelligence that I think the Israelis have capitalized on with regard to what's taking place in Lebanon. There's just a variety of things. I think there's also a whole lot of economic analysis that give us greater insights into what the state of the economy is as a result of closure of the Strait of Hormuz and what it's going to take to reopen that. I think the United States and under President Trump and the leadership at the Secretary of War Hegseth has done a really masterful job in making sure that the strikes are targeted at military targets only, with very limited, if any, collateral damage to the economic engine of Iran, that is to say the oil industry and other things, so that when we get on the other side of this, the Iranian people are in a position to not only take back their country, but do it in a way that they can actually pay for and capitalize on an industry that serves the Iranian people. So,
Mr. Chairman, today, of course, national security officials set to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee on the global threats to America. One day after National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent resigned his post, writing on X, quote, "I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." Mr. Chairman, you're going to lead the full House hearing on the 2026 Worldwide Threats Assessment. First, give us your thoughts on Joe Kent stepping down and, of course, the worldwide threats as well.
Yeah, I think Joe Kent is a remarkable patriot. 11 combat tours. There's not a whole lot of people that can credit that much service to the country. So I certainly have the utmost respect for his contribution to national security, and not only that, 11 combat tours, but the loss he suffered personally. And so, I understand that completely. That said, I don't agree with his assessment on Iran and the threat that it poses, and so I respect his principle, but I don't agree with his position. And I think the important thing right now is to recognize that we now have a vacancy at the National Counterterrorism Center, and we are in armed conflict with the largest state sponsor of terror in the world. And so that is a void that's got to be filled, and it's got to be filled quickly, and I'm certain that it will be. So that's going to be a topic of conversation in our all threats assessment that's coming up later this week, as well as other things. But right now, Iran conflict is front and center, and that will certainly command a lot of attention.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Rudy Giuliani tweeted this out. Joe Kent resigns as director of National Counterterrorism Center, blaming Israel for the war and claiming that Iran poses no threat to the United States. This is raising eyebrows because the same Joe Kent testified before the Senate just 1 year ago that Iran and its terror proxies threatened U.S. service members in the Middle East. He said it would be an honor to return to the fight against terrorism, and he pledged to lead with integrity and accountability. Rudy writes, so what happened, Mr. Kent? There are some unanswered questions. Is there a discrepancy there?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's one of those questions that's going to come up, and I don't know how he reconciles that, but that's really not, to me, that's not the most pressing issue. He's had a change of heart. That's fine. People do that. I don't understand how he got from there to his current position. But the fact remains that we do have a void to fill at the National Counterterrorism Center, and I hope that is filled quickly because as I said, we're in armed conflict with the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, and so it's important to recognize the role that has to be played there. So I don't know. I mean, here's the other interesting thing. The Democrats have celebrated this because to them it provides an opportunity to one more, dig at the president. Look, one of your officials is leaving, and there's a disconnect there. But this is the same guy they roundly attacked when he was nominated.
Right.
I mean, he was the scourge of humanity as far as they're concerned. Now they're celebrating it, and what this tells you is that they are just naked politicians first and foremost. That's what they do. That's what they're most concerned with. They're not concerned about our troops. We've had the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries that says we can't win. They're preying on our downfall, and that just can't stand. And that's the more important thing that I think we need to recognize here is the disconnect at home with politicians that refer to the United States as they, not us, but they. That's a real problem for us today.
Well, that's a great point, and it is a sad state of affairs. President Trump has tried umpteen times. The White House just sent a letter outlining changes to the Department of Homeland Security to help reach a deal with Democrats to end this 33-day shutdown. It includes expanding ICE body camera use, increasing congressional oversight of DHS detention facilities. We're going to hear the Senate hold a confirmation hearing for Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin in a couple of hours. President Trump's choice to lead the DHS. This prolonged shutdown is still causing disruptions at airports across the country. TSA officials are warning some smaller airports could actually be forced to shut down the longer the agency stays. Mr. Chairman, what is it going to take for Democrats to remove the politics and start focusing on the American people and reopen DHS?
You know what? I hate to speculate on what it might take to move them. God forbid another calamity along the lines of a 9/11. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's not what it takes to move people and to recognize that we can't continue to play politics with the lives of federal workers and the safety and security of this nation. So knock it off, get over yourselves, pass these appropriations bills, fund DHS, and then go out and make your political statements all you want. That's fine, but don't take these agencies hostage at the expense of the American people.
Yeah, thank you for that. Look, Congressman, there's a debate over FISA surveillance. Yesterday, I spoke with Anna Paulina Luna, and she'd like the SAVE Act in some way attached to the FISA surveillance debate. The Senate, of course, cleared a major procedural hurdle, voting to open debate on the Save America Act, triggering days of a marathon debate showdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's pessimistic that the Democrats are even going to participate, and that, of course, they're not going to get the 60 votes needed to pass this voter ID legislation. What do you want to tell us about surveillance versus civil liberties? Because we know what Anthropic said, right? They don't want to be involved in mass domestic surveillance. And of course, the Save America Act. Will it ever get to the president's desk?
Well, the Save America Act is one of those things that I think 80% of the American people want to happen, and it's really a shame that we're kind of constrained by this arcane rule over in the Senate that prevents that bill from being successful. That's really a problem, and I think the American people don't fully understand why. I mean, I'm one of those people that don't fully understand, and in fact, I'm sure there's some people there's some senators that don't fully understand why, and that's troubling. But it's a delicate balance that we have to strike, and we're going to keep on keeping on.
Mr. Chairman, do you support renewing FISA 702 without major reforms? We know plenty of American citizens who were under surveillance, and we want to understand where the surveillance is, because there have been past abuses, sir, under the Democrat leadership in particular.
Absolutely, you can do both things. You can provide that vital national security tool and at the same time protect American civil liberties. We've got to thread that needle. It can be done. It's been done before. We've got 56 reforms that were implemented in the last authorization. We need an additional 18 months to fully implement those 56 reforms, along with the review commission that was a part of that RISA reform, and that's why we're asking for the 18-month clean re-auth, and hopefully we'll get that done sooner rather than later. Understood.
Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, Rick Crawford on Capitol Hill. We'll be right back.